Where's north from here?
Hey guys, SomeNorthernGuy here, and in this video I want to have a bit of a more in-depth, closer look at the Alola region map. And starting off, a video that kind of links to this is a video I've done about what I think the islands are going to be called, and all about like the guardians of the islands and stuff. So if you want to go check that out, hit the pause button and hit the annotations on screen now, go watch that video, and then pop on back and finish off this one. Okay, I'm going to assume you either went and watched that video or you just stuck around. Either or, let's have a closer look at the Alola map. Now, first of all, I'm going to explain my placements of what I think, or why I think each island is the name I gave it in the other video, which is kind of why you had to go watch it, I guess. So starting from the bottom left and working our way round, I think the bottom left island is going to be Oma'Oma'o, or the Green Island, and the reason being for that is it kind of just became the odd one out, because I'd named the other three. Obviously, Mele we already have. I named the other two, rather. But there is that gigantic tree, and with Oma'Oma'o being Hawaiian for green, and that being the green or the grass island, with the Guardian probably being a grass type, that just kind of, that's how I tried to fit it in. Obviously, the one after that, the top left is Mele Island. The top right, I think that's going to be Ula Island, or Red Island. Reason being is, I know we have that really awesome looking thing with the like pools of water and waterfalls there. But obviously the big main prominent feature on this island, to me at least, is that volcanic area, with all the fire and the lava and the steam coming off it. And fire, volcano, yeah, it's a no-brainer, And then finally, the bottom right island is Uli Island, or the Blue Island, and that's the water island. And the reason I think that is because, if you look, it's kind of got like a cluster of islands within its boundaries, because obviously you can see the rocky island, like the rocky bits around the edges of the islands. That's obviously going to be the limit of where we can surf, and then we'll probably have to get boats to get from island to island, until we unlock Fly, obviously. But I think that because it's got that big collection of, or that little collection of islands within the island, and there's a lot of surfing to be done there, and the ice on top, and there appears to be somewhat. It kind of looks like a stage in the middle of a lake. I'll try and zoom in on that as best as I can. I don't know how well the resolution's going to hold up, but. That kind of seems very linked to water. It was like with the the geography, and obviously there's the ice on top of the mountain, ice, water. Now that I'm thinking about it, those islands on those like pools and waterfalls on Ula Island, they do kind of look like it could be hot springs or something like that. I suppose, like really gigantic hot springs that kind of flow together. So maybe. So that's why I think they're going to be that. And what I do love about this map is there's actually 7 islands, which is good. Hawaii is made up of 7 islands. There are 7 islands. There's the 4 big ones, obviously. There's the man-made one in the centre of the map, which I'm going to get to in a minute. If you look just to the left of the far left island, the Oma'Oma'o Island, or the green, I'm just going to call them green, red, blue, and yellow. If you look to the far left of what I'm calling the green island, there's that other little one. And that's obviously, it's not within, if you look at the rocks, it's not within the boundaries of where you can surf. So I think that's going to be its own island, essentially. Maybe, maybe not. And then if you look right at the top right, there's a tiny island which looks like it's got its own it's one singular palm tree on it. And that's kind of like surrounded by clouds and mist. So there's actually 7 islands, which I do really love how they've done that. I know 3 of them are small and 1 of them's man-made. But still, that's really nice. Okay, next up, I want to see if we can identify some towns and cities and stuff. So, I went through the map, and I've highlighted, as best as I could, or put a little circle, around everything that I think is a Pokemon Center. And looking at this straight away, Mele Island has 2 that I can see, or that I can make out. And Green Island, Oma'Oma'o Island, on the left with the giant tree, has 1 Pokemon Center. What I find interesting about that is, see that altar? that is from the trailers where we see Solgaleo and Lunana turn up. So I'm thinking that's going to be like the last island you go to, or maybe you'll go to one of the other 2 islands first, and then have to hop over there, and then go back to that island you were originally on. But that is going to be, like, you know, very late game. It's got that big rocky area, like the canyon and stuff. We've seen so many Pokemon in the trailer appear in that canyon, like Garchomp, Dragonite, Drampa, or Drampa, or whatever the hell you want to call it. So I'm thinking that's probably going to have something to do with a lot of dragon types knocking around that area. Maybe it's like called Dragon Ravine or something silly like that, you know, something cliche but awesome at the same time. So only one Pokemon Center as far as I can make out, and obviously there's that giant tree. Could be a reference to the Tree of Life that's in, like, the, you know, the Norse mythology. There we go. So the Norse, I can't even say that. Try to say that 10 times fast. The Norse mythology, which people say the XYZ trio is based off. Could have reference to that. And the cloud above it, everyone says looks like Ho-Oh. So maybe? I guess it's a prominent location for legendaries, I suppose. But definitely, that is where the altar is, where Solgaleo and Lunana show up. Jumping over to the other 2 islands, the Red Island, it's got, as far as I can see, there's about 5 or 6 Pokemon centers there, which looks pretty sweet, you know, it seems pretty populated. Just from looking at the map from the naked eye, not zooming in, I can see a lighthouse. Obviously, there's those hot springs, there's the volcano-looking place. There seems to be a forest. There seems to be a ton of forests on this map, to be honest. But interestingly enough, is that the Pokemon League? It could be. It looks pretty castle-like and pretty grand, or maybe that's the Pokemon League. You know, those places are pretty close to each other, and one of them is leading into the mountainside, you know, the volcano, so maybe it isn't. It could be Victory Road, and the League is on the other side of that, and we can't see it. But the first one I highlighted, it definitely looks castle-like, so that could be the League, but I'm more drawn to the centre man-made island. I think that's either the Pokemon League or a Battle Frontier type place. And if I had to pick like one of those 3 places to definitely be the League, I'd probably go with the island in the middle. It kind of makes sense. Like, you know, you got all the surrounding islands, and the man-made one is the Pokemon League. It's the focal point of the region. It's, you know, your ultimate goal. You go all the way around it, all the way through your journey, and then you head to the centre of, like, I guess technically the crescent, like the semicircle that the islands make, and that's the Pokemon League. You know, I just like that makes sense. It's like poetic in a kind of way. But if it is a Battle Frontier place, I won't complain. I mean, I can't really see anything that's going to look post-game-ish, apart from those little 2 islands I mentioned, but I'll get back to those in a sec. I first want to have a look at Uli Uli Island, or the Blue Island, in terms of Pokemon Centres. Now, there's quite a few there. I think Red Island actually has more, as far as I can tell. Obviously, the ice place on the top, that's going to be some sort of ice cave. Maybe an ice-type gym will be up there. Possibly. And at the top of the island, actually, top left, there's that city that's just like, it's just in a massive wall. It kind of reminds me of Attack on Titan, in all honesty with you. But, you know, that's interesting. Why is that place encased in a giant wall? I'm sure there's a theory about it out there somewhere. Probably there is. There's a theory for everything nowadays, really, isn't there, with Pokemon? But, interesting. And coming over from the right of that, on the other side of the mountain range, that tower reminds me a hell of a lot of the towers in Gold and Silver. So, maybe there really is some connection. I mean, there's the clouds that look like Ho-Oh and Lugia. People do speculate that this gen is going to be related to Gen 2 in the same way X and Y is similar to Gen 1. It could be. It could be. It's all speculation at this point. I'm just literally looking at a map and just trying to get my ideas out in a video and guess what I think is going to happen. Okay, so anything else major to look at? I guess down here on Blue Island, there's what looks like an oasis, I suppose, like a deserty area. Maybe some sort of like quarry or mine or something, like to the top right of that. But that definitely looks like an oasis. Could be a ground type gym knocking around there. I just want to know what gyms we're going to get, you know? Up on Melee Island, there's that big forest, which we saw, we've had art for, we've seen what it looks like on the inside, and it's right at basically the starting town, where you start your journey, which is where this little stage is. I think that forest is where Tapu Koko lives. I don't think it's like a Viridian Forest type place. I think that, because it looks pretty sacred, I think that's where Tapu Koko resides, and then there'll be like similar places around the other islands where the legendary guardians of those islands live. But yeah, I don't think that's just like a Viridian Forest clone. Also on Melee Island is the dockyard, which I think is meant to be Pearl Harbor. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's like a reference to Pearl Harbor. But I'm assuming that is where you're going to get the boat from to get to the different, islands. I mean, each one has a dock in some sort of sense. Blue Island's got one. Yeah, it's where the tower is from, Heart Gold looking tower. So I'm guessing those are where you're going to have to get, boats from to get to the other islands. So I definitely think it's going to be a lot of boat riding to Island Hop, and then when we unlock Fly, we'll be able to go anywhere we want. Hopefully, I hope we don't have to, go to Red Island and fly wherever we want within Red Island, We don't know how big Alola is going to be, but just looking at this map, it doesn't look that huge, especially Melee Island. It just doesn't seem that massive. I mean, you see the road running along the width of it. In the trailer, the character runs down that road, and it really doesn't take too long to get from one end to the other of it. So, touch wood, it's not to scale, and they do look bigger. So they are bigger than what they actually look. But, I don't know. If it is a small region, I'm really hoping we get to go back to Kalos, just because it'll feel so tiny, so small. I want this to be a huge region with just lots to do. It's all 7 islands, 4 big islands. Give us loads of stuff to explore, Game Freak. And I suppose the final thing I want to touch on are these seems to be a lot of like stages or battlefields knocking around the map. There's quite a few of them on Blue Island. Up on Melee Island, there's the one obviously which you fight How on at the start. We've all seen that from the gameplay and the trailers and all that stuff. So I'm guessing maybe these stages, they might have something to do with the legendary Pokemon. Like it's where you have the ritual and then you summon them out or something like that. Or they could literally just be a place where you can go and battle trainers and which is cool. That would, in real life there would be battlefields like this knocking around the place. So I like that. That's a nice detail. But overall, it is shaping up to be a very, very beautiful and diverse looking region. Just looking at this map now, I can see loads of places and loads of potential gyms and loads of potential gym leader types. But I'm going to save that for another video. But in the meantime, let me know, what do you think of the Alola region, first impression wise, just looking at the map? Is there anything you can pick out? Obviously I haven't covered everything in this video, but is there anything that really jumps out and grabs your eye or anything like that? And just what do you think of the region as a whole? I think it looks stunning. I cannot wait to go and explore it. But that's all from me. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good week. Bye!